Hello, welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Daily Live. I'll be joined shortly by Ped. Before we start, I want to offer our condolences to the family of Michael, who died yesterday at Everton's new stadium. Awful, tragic news. No one should go to work and not come home. And it's awful news. An Evertonian went home and away. I'm sure loads of people knew him, loved him. Seen that from some of the tributes that have come in. He was obviously a very nice young man, and his family, best wishes to them and prayers to them and all of that. Thoughts are with them today because it's an awful time. So I just thought, I just thought we couldn't open the show without offering our condolences as a channel and just as human beings to Michael's family. So. Yeah, awful news. Let's move on to something that's far less important, but it's what people are here for, and that is obviously to chat about the football club and about the team. Wilfred Gnonto is still being discussed by Everton. Absolutely. Being discussed. Spurs apparently, and Aston Villa interested as well. Everton are the favourites for him because I think the lad is well aware that Everton have wanted him all summer, and Everton are just trying to get that deal done right now. With Leeds, it's difficult because we said yesterday, I don't really like what he's done to Leeds. I think when player does this, I think you always have that thought in your head, and rightly so. You always have that thought in your head that at some stage they're going to do it to us, aren't they? Why are we any different? And he probably will, unless... If Everton do sign him, he does come in and does well and does move on, unless it's with everybody's consent, then that's fine. I don't know. It's easy sometimes to just look at the players' side of it and say, the club side of it, and say, well, he should just get on with his job, whatever. I don't know what he's been promised by Leeds. I don't know what conversations he's had with Leeds, whether they said, we'll let you go, whatever. I'm not sure. I'm just looking at it from a fan's perspective, and, fans of Leeds like the kid. And obviously, when you're a football fan, you don't want to see players doing this to your club. So I understand that. Like I say, I wouldn't like it to happen to us, so I'm not going to be hypocritical and say, well, Leeds should just sell him. Do I think they should? Go on, Ped. Do I think they should? Yes, because I think once a player makes it perfectly clear they don't want to play for you, then I don't understand why you would keep him. Yes, you're going to try and get the best deal for him. I understand that. But I think for Leeds, I think just get rid of him for your own good. You've got Daniel Farke's gone in there trying to get a new culture going, trying to get new things in place for his football club. Keeping a player that doesn't want to be there, I don't think benefits anybody long term, certainly. Spurs and Villa have got an interest in him. Why wouldn't he? He's a good player. But both of those clubs are quite well stocked. Wendy has just got injured, but Villa are bringing in Zaniolo from Galatasaray, I think, as well. So I think their interest will be there, but I think, according to all reports, Everton are the favourites. I think the lad has been wooed by Everton, according to different people. And I think if you're a player and you see a football club interested in you all summer and chasing you all summer, I think if you think long term, well, they actually really want me. These ones who are coming in now, yes, they might be in better positions, and undoubtedly Spurs and Villa are better teams than Everton and in better positions. But I think he's made his mind up at the moment that he wants to join Everton. But if Everton can't do a deal and the other two teams can, that's a different story altogether. But I think from our perspective, we're trying to do the best deal we can do with the resources we've got available. And he would improve Everton, absolutely he would. And I think Everton are looking at it as a young player with high potential as well. But like I said before, there will always be that thing of, let's hope we sell him at the time he wants to go, and we don't get into this thing of him not wanting to play. It happens already. It's not. Listen, I'm not totally vilifying Wilfred Gnonto, because, like I said, I have no idea of what he was told by Leeds.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Leeds might have said, "Yeah, we'll let you go if someone comes in," and Everton have come in, because I imagine that's the last step as a footballer you want to take, is refusing to play in games. And if you feel that aggrieved that you're not doing it, then that, to me, feels as though there's been a conversation that has led to this.
Yeah,
I mean, don't know, do we?
Don't know, do we? Ultimately, I think was just trying to get him off a little bit there.
Oh no, I've already said I don't condone it. That's
what I'm saying. You don't know the full details. Don't like that. Don't like people talking and kicking up a fuss like that, going on strike. I don't agree with that whatsoever. In this terms, not in general.
Well, just do your job.
No, but like as a footballer, I think it's the last step. But as you said, you don't know. He might have been made promises. Might have been made promises about, when he could leave, how he could leave. Everton have been consistent in their approach, I think. But it hasn't been splashed all over the news as in from Everton. So it is just one of those things, and it's a wait and see situation. I think the statement that was put out on Friday from their end is basically a way of saying to the fans, he wants to go. It's a tactic that as a club we've used many a time. Vilify the player in the eyes of the fans, make it about them. It's come back to hurt our club a few times when the truth has come out about what's actually happened.
Yeah,
players are willing to be. I think players are willing to be the villain at times, because they know, well, what difference does it make? I'll go somewhere else. I'll be loved by my new fans, and time will sort it out. So we'll see what happens. As you mentioned, there, Spurs have been linked with them today. Yeah, I don't really know if he would make a dent at Spurs, whereas Everton, I think he would. And I think for a player who's just dropped into the Championship, I think, again, it's about those steps, isn't it? Making those steps. I think footballers are controlling their careers more and more, and are understanding that it is about making steps rather than jumping, because you do get into a situation. I mean, you look at like Chelsea on Sunday having like 5 debutants. You look at the turnover of their squad. You look what happened to the last bunch of players they brought in. It happens far too often now. And it's something that should be trying to eliminate from the game. Players should be taking hold of their careers and saying, I want to play football, and if I know if I play for them for 2 years, I can make that step up to it. Whereas I could could sign for a big club, but I could sit on the bench. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's a good player though. And if Everton have wanted them all summer and they have, then that's why you stick with something, don't you?
If it's the plan, innit?
We've all had a go at the club for not following a plan and saying it's scattergun, it's this or that. It doesn't. I've been critical of the recruitment team, and I still will be, if they're going after targets. I think they should. And Big Acor got a brace on his Davy from Montpellier the other day of £4 million. But they do feel like that they've got players they want, and they're just sticking with them. And you can't have a go at someone for that. I can have a go at someone for just literally going, right, who can we grab? And I felt like it was like that last summer. I did feel like it was who can we grab last summer. Certainly where Mopai was concerned. I don't think I wouldn't accuse them of that at the moment. I also wouldn't let them off with other people are stopping them doing a great job. I think they're all in it together, to be fair. But if they've got a plan, it feels like they have. We can't vilify them for trying to stick with the plan. if it means getting their man in the end. If they get Wilfred Gnonto through the door, that's someone they identified in February, March, as someone they wanted.
Yeah.
They stuck with the task and they've eventually got him.
Mm.
Jack Harrison was another one. He was a big target all summer. And they've got him. So whether you'd agree with what they're going after, that's a different conversation. But I don't think you can have a go at them for sticking to the targets they want. That's a different story. Because we would laud other teams for doing that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't we? We'd say, well, they wanted them and they stuck in there and all of that. So, yeah. Kevin Murphy says, afternoon, lads, RIP to the young lad. Yeah, I like I said at the very start to open the show with it was awful. Absolutely awful. Corrin says, hello, Baz, so sad thoughts with his family. Rogue Trader, RIP, young man thinking of the family. Yeah, so it is absolutely awful. Sophie said the Daily Mail are at it again. The Premier League. Mathew saying Premier League is changing its rules due to our charges. Well, we've only got one charge. I don't know, Sophie.
Changing what rules?
I don't know.
They're changing the rules.
It doesn't give me any.
They're changing the rules because of Chelsea, apparently. They're going to crack down on that. I don't know if it's got anything to do with Everton. I know
we've got one charge.
Yeah.
There's people have got carried away with things like the Daily Mail. Yeah. There's one charge relating to the stadium, not even relating to the playing side. Everton maintain they've done nothing wrong and there'll be nothing to answer. Who knows if that is the case? We'll see what happens. The Premier League needs to look at itself. When Chelsea can spend 950 million in a year, it needs to look at itself. Tell me what part of that is fair.
The which?
To spend 950
Chelsea,
million in a year.
All been it has all been it's been explained, hasn't it? And the way, if you listen to the way it's explained, a large part of it is because of those contracts, and it's a loophole which is. This is what they're supposed to be closing now. UEFA have already done it, but the Premier League haven't done it. Ooh, what a surprise. And it is all to do. If you listen to I've listened to two different explanations of how Chelsea are doing it.
Yeah.
It's come out in the last 24 hours. And they're actually 65 million up because of the way they've done it. Because of the amortization, and because of the players they've sold, they are still very much fine. Now, fair play to them. They found a way because their owner, obviously.
Well, to be honest, we found a way. It's just we haven't found it. Our numbers are. Oh, sorry, what I meant by that is clubs do find that way because this is what I was trying to explain the other week, and that one person couldn't understand what I was saying. When you buy a player. If we buy Wilfred Gnonto for £25 million, we don't pay £25 million for Wilfred Gnonto. We pay a fraction of it. We do pay it, of course we do, but we pay it every year.
But also,
Chelsea.
But also, when you sell a player, you don't sell a player at what the value you bought the player for. The value drops off every year. That's the amortization. So if you buy a player for 65 million and then sell him 2 years later for 65 million. You've made money on him.
Already made money
because you've had him for 2 years. It's not like it's even.
Yeah.
So someone like Kai Havertz, because they sold him, having had him for 2 years, they've made, I think, probably money on him. So therefore, they haven't lost anything on the FFP.
No.
And it's stuff like that where people just, it's not. And why should you know? Why should you need to know these things? Bloody hell, we watch football. We're not accountants. But I think that's why FFP is so complicated, is because all of these rules, and you've got your contracts now, which you the value of a player, what drops off it's just so ridiculously complicated for people when it shouldn't be. And some people know how to take advantage of it and some people don't. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are we there? People just saying they take Gnonto. Liam says, after getting Harrison, I'd be more inclined to go for strikers and centre-backs. I'd be happy with Che Adams, personally. On the strikers, right? Che Adams. Let's just have a little chat about Che Adams for a minute. Because I know Bournemouth are very interested in him, aren't they? Bournemouth have also activated Tyler Adams as £20 million.
Yeah.
Release clause. They're interested in him. Right? I mean, what do you make of him? His goal record isn't great in the Premier League.
No.
But he is a handful for defence. I know he's not 6 foot.
Yeah.
But he is a handful for defenders. He presses really well. When I spoke to Andy about him, he's quite happy. He'd be quite happy with him, he said, as the middle striker, if you like.
Yeah.
Obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin not there, but it also takes the heat off Chimity. He's better through the middle than what Dan Juma is in terms of like what he gives you, hold up play and stuff. I mean, but his goals are worried though. He doesn't score goals.
I think he's
got 2 and 2 so far.
I think the way he plays is would be more beneficial than the way Mopé plays for us. The size is a problem because again you're having to change a little bit of your style to accommodate him. As a footballer, I prefer him to Mopé. I just think his all-round game is better for bringing people into the game. I think he's busier. I think he's stronger. I think he holds up the ball better to allow other people to join in. I'm not sure Mopé is particularly good at that. And it is... I think it's one of those things, isn't it? It is difficult because you're looking at the size of the player and thinking, well, how does he work for us? It's what his skill set is, isn't it? It's what his all-round skill set is. It's a difficult one. It really is, just because of the size. I don't mind them. I don't mind them at all. I just think Everton have got to make that decision because we need a forward. We've got to make that decision. It's great going after your targets, your first targets for your wide plays or whatever, but Everton have got to get a centre forward in. They've just got to. And take that pressure away from having to have, relying on Dominic Calvert-Lewin and people, putting pressure on Chimity, which shouldn't be there at all. He's just a young kid, really. So, if you could get him for the right money, I think Che Adams would be someone. Don't get me wrong, he's not. No one's sitting here going, he'd solve all our problems. No. But I do think I'd like to think if chances fell to him, I think he'd put one in the net, which Mopé just doesn't seem to be capable of doing, and that's the real issue, isn't it? The real issue is Mopé got chances on Saturday and he missed them all, and that's the top and bottom of it. And literally in every game he's played, bar one, that's what's happened, And
even the goal he scored wasn't really a chance; it was a snapshot. It was a good finish, don't get me wrong, but it was a snapshot, wasn't it?
And we have to rectify that really quickly, though. Really, really quickly. I mean, obviously, we've only got 2 more games till the window shuts. But then there's another one straight after the window shuts as well. So even if you got someone in, like, right on the deadline, would they play in that game? So that, I mean, obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin could be back Saturday if all goes well. Yeah, it's a difficult one. There's not much about. There aren't many centre forwards around anymore. It's a position it's been, I don't know, because of the one up front, and because it's the fashion to play one up front, probably lower down. Then you are diminishing your centre forwards. You're diminishing the need for a centre forward but you still need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. The best club in the world have the best striker in the world playing for them. So. Everyone is clamouring over them, and that means that it's slim pickings where we are. But you've got to get someone who at least understands that's his job. And that's why, Dom is so important, because he does understand that job, I think. And it's finding another one to go with him.
Maupai's got 29 appearances for Everton and 1 goal.
Well, it's all there. I mean, we're not, you get this thing where you're like the boo boy or you're picking on someone or whatever. The proof's there. Just the fella just isn't quite good enough at the level.
Yeah.
And that's...
It's not.
He'd score... Listen, this fella would score bagfuls of goals in the Championship. He'd score goals in France. He'd score goals in Italy. He could go to lots of leagues in Europe and we will do well. But at this level, for what we need,
this league's tough.
Not good enough. You need that. Tough. You get that. Look at the first opportunity he got on Saturday. It's a difficult opportunity. I give him that. The ball over the top. He gets onto it really well. But he hasn't got the pace in the first place to progress further on goal, because there's a player coming. So he has to take it early. And he hasn't got the skill. It goes just wide. Listen, a top-class striker will just put a little bit of edge on that, and he finds the bottom corner.
Or at least makes the keeper safe.
But for him, it's like he's been pressured into that shot, and he puts it wide. And then the ones that come too quickly to him, we saw this last year. It just hasn't got the finesse to just fight. I seen the one Salah's got this lad on Sunday. He's through on goal, and he just waits for the goalie to go down. He just lifts it over to him. Like that's absolute class, isn't it? That's that's the absolute level.
That's top level, yeah.
But that's composure more than anything. That's having enough confidence in yourself to just go out. Everything slows down, doesn't it? Where for centre forwards, where it's not there, everything's like, whoa, what am I doing?
Stuart Barlow was that I played with you at Everton. And Stuart Barlow, but he was quick, and at certain levels he could score. But the Premier League just shows you how difficult it is, because he would panic. He was too quick for it. His feet were too quick for his head. Almost, so in their moments he'd freeze where he shouldn't have done, because his pace was that good that he got himself in. When you see players now, it happens in so many games. It's why Harry Kane has just gone for over 100 million quid. And you're right, Mo Salah, he's probably the king at running through and dinking it over the goalie. So he's the best one who does it. So you see that goal, that goal where he sits the keeper down and clips it over him. He scored that. So I'd be amazed if he scored that less than 20 times in his Liverpool career, because he just seems to do it so often.
It's what the best players can do.
Ronaldo, R9, the greatest centre forward ever to play the game, he used to sit goalies down by doing step overs in front of them, and that was his forte, wasn't it? Neil Maupay, I keep looking at him and I keep thinking he's more of a link forward. The problem is Everton can't have a link forward. We have to have a centre forward, and we play. If you had a midfield or wide men who got a lot of goals, but he was clever enough to play in pockets, and you had a centre forward ahead of him, he was really good. He'd be a nice little player, probably, at like linking the play. But that's not that's me trying to fit him in somewhere else. The lad is obviously a decent footballer, but what we need is someone who's a big physical focal point for us, because that's how we play. And that doesn't mean because we've got a physical focal point then, we're just going to bang it long. The best team in the world has got a physical focal point, haven't he? He's an absolute machine of a centre forward. Haaland, he's big and strong, 6'5", can run quick. He's a freak, isn't he? He's almost been made in a lab, it seems, when you look at him. That physical presence up front you've got to have, especially when you play the way we do, and when we haven't got all of the other silkiness. We need that, and he's just not that player for us. So we have to bring someone in, and someone who suits the way we play like that. And you see it when Dom's in, it's totally different. All of a sudden there's gaps everywhere, and he's pulling people all out, and you're going, look at the difference he makes. Can you get someone who's durable, who can do the same?
It's difficult. It is difficult. Listen, just in comment there, Steve P saying about the strikers everywhere, we just look in the wrong places. There are strikers everywhere, of course they are. There are strikers everywhere, but are they good enough? That's the question, isn't it? Are they good enough? The Premier League is, very much unforgiving in that position. And you've got to get it right. And that's the top and bottom of it. So you're looking, a club like Everton are looking at players with a bit of a track record of playing in the Premier League for a start. And I suppose that's why they probably looked at Maupay. Because Everton, can they take a chance on a player and say, right, you're going to be our backup centre forward? They can take a chance on a lad and say, well, you're not even our backup striker, you're someone maybe for next season. Don't get me wrong, I think he'll get games this year. I think he'll come off the bench. But that position it's look at the attention Maupay has got by missing opportunities on Saturday. You know what I mean? It's not, not right, the abuse. But it all comes down, I actually did a very weird thing on Saturday night. I put on Match of the Day.
Shut up. Don't believe you.
You know what? Not even for anything else, just us.
Why?
Because I wanted to just see what they said about the goal that was disallowed.
Okay, yeah. But did it even get referenced?
Yeah. But they just said, same old problem. They can't put the ball in the back of the net. And then they showed Maupay's chances, and it was just like, they were like, they haven't even played badly. They've played all right. Same old problem. Can't put the ball in the back of the net. And that's it, isn't it? It's not about the goal that we conceded. It's not about anything. It's not about making chances. It's about, because that's all that matters.
If you had a goalkeeper that couldn't save shots regularly enough, you'd replace the goalkeeper, wouldn't you? Doesn't mean you hate the goalkeeper or whatever. But players, Arsenal, Aaron Ramsdale made 2 errors that led directly to goals last season. Right? He's a decent enough goalie, and yet Arsenal needs a one replacement with David Raya, who made 1 error that led to a goal. But they want to replace him because they need better. Yeah. So for Neil Maupay, just doesn't score any goals, and we need someone who would. And I keep saying this, when people, when people go like, how can you say that? If we'd have had a forward, we'd have been better last year. Well, because everything told you would have.
We would have.
Our centre forward scored 4 goals between the 3 of them. 4.
Yeah.
Right? Therefore, if Everton would have had a centre forward that got 6 or 7 or 8 goals last season, we would have won more games, which would have kept us clear of any problem. So it doesn't take much to go, let's get one in who can at least get that on a regular basis. Neil Maupay, it's not going to. Sometimes players go to a club and it just doesn't work. In front of goal, it doesn't work. You can go, there's so many examples of it going back over all the years where clubs buy strikers and it's just not the same. They fit in somewhere and they don't, whatever. I can even go back, show me age, as far as Gary Birtles going to Manchester United from Forest, and he was prolific at Forest.
Yeah, it's just stop.
Peter Davenport, another one, Forest against United, was brilliant, and yet went and couldn't score goals. And it was like, there's just no goals in it. And it carries on through time. You get a striker and go, he'll do really well there. Look at Richie, that Tottenham. He was great for us, double figures every year. Gone to Spurs. What did he get? 1 Premier League goal for them last season at Anfield, ironically. He's already getting lambasted for his performance on Sunday. He's not good enough, get rid of him. And yeah, he'd probably come back to Everton, settle back in and score goals.
It happens, doesn't it? And the thing about Everton is, if Everton could add, imagine Everton could have like a good, imagine Everton had the money right now, genuinely. Let's say Onana gets sold, right? I'm not saying he will, and I hope he doesn't. But let's say Man United say 75 million, right? And Everton go, right, 75 million. We're doing all right. Lads, get me the one they call Romelu.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's not gone anywhere. Juventus still want him, but they're trying to play a game with their own fans. Probably going to leave it as late as possible, not to upset anyone.
Yeah.
Imagine we went, let's go and get Romelu Lukaku. We'd be fine, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
We'd be absolutely fine, because you've got a player in suddenly who leads the line, takes chances, misses chances, but takes chances. But suddenly we'd be fine. We'd be absolutely fine as a team, because we'd score goals, we'd have a real threat at the other end, which would mean we could just, you know what, last season with the defensive stuff, it would take the ball, put it down the other end, you make more chances, the ball's in the other end more. Doesn't make us a great team, by the way. Doesn't suddenly make us a good team. It just means that, you know, someone in the comments there saying about if we had Mitrovic, we would have finished with where Fulham had. Again, you know, it's one player. It can be that one player, especially if it's a really good player.
If it's a goal scorer.
Exactly. If someone is a threat, like a constant threat, where someone says, like, look at like Haaland is the best example, right? Look at Haaland, right? Half the time the opposition are just worrying about him rather than him. You know, he went the back end of last season. I think he didn't score in the last 6 games. But the opposition were terrified of him. They've got 2 men on him. It's open and space for Gundogan to come in and fill those spaces and score those goals. Yeah. That threat, and that, you know, this is the other thing about it. It's having a fella who people just worry about. I remember when Ron went, excuse me, and the first thing everyone did when we played them, is they went 10 yards up the pitch because they were like, these haven't got a threat. And that's the difference, isn't it? And listen, I'm not saying we would go for Lukaku, all right. I'm just talking about in that. I'm just saying, if we had a striker like that, suddenly things would go. When people say papers over the cracks, it does paper over the cracks.
Yeah. Of course it does. But lots of team paper over the cracks, don't they? You know, talking to, you know, this is why Liverpool are worrying about that midfield. You know, I'm speaking to Carragher whenever it was. He was saying like the forwards got them out of so much trouble last year. And I was like, hell, and they still struggled. That's what he was saying. They still struggled. And yet the forwards got them out of trouble because the midfield wasn't good.
Sunday they conceded the goal, Liverpool, because they haven't got a natural 6. No one follows the run of the kid who puts it in, and you know, it's like little.
They're just finite details because they're playing at the elite level. And you'll always find details. And if Everton had a centre forward who was A, focal point, but B, who could actually finish, we wouldn't be in as much trouble. You don't go from a team that is, you know, remember last season, Villa was just sinking like a stone. And they had lots of good players, Bailey and Watkins and all of these players. Jacob Ramsey, who I think is fantastic. That all of these players, no, his brother. Oh, Darren, his brother, younger brother. Buendia. They had all of these players, and yet they were just sinking down the table. They come to Goodison in February, whatever. If we'd have beat them, it was 3 points between the 2 teams. Ollie Watkins starts firing goals in. Everyone gets a lift. And they're not saying they're Everton and Villa, because we're not. They have got better players. I just mean Watkins goes on that run, and all of a sudden the confidence oozes through the team. They end up in Europe. Right? You can go from where they were to Europe, but you can also go from where Everton were, which is surviving last day, to being around the mid-table by having a lad who is putting the ball in the net for you and giving you that. We saw it with Dom. There was no bigger example than Dominic Calvert-Lewin at the likes of Leicester and Brighton. It's no coincidence. We should have scored 6 at Leicester. We could have quite easily lost the game, by the way, as well, but it wasn't for Pickford. But we should have scored 5 or 6 that night at Leicester, and we didn't. And we went to Brighton and we did score 5. Yeah. So, and it was all simply because of Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the side. Because
you take a couple of chances in a game as well, though, don't you? You take a couple of chances. Like on Saturday, I was sitting there thinking, I've watched loads of Everton teams, you know, lots of Everton players. I've watched loads of I've watched, you know, you sit there. The reason, like, our home record, right, is a disgrace. No, the last 2 years, 3 years, it is a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace for a football club. Like, if we, you know, your home record's got to be the backbone of everything you do, and we let clubs roll in and just beat us, and it's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. This is what makes me laugh when people go, "Oh, you can't leave Goodison midway through a season." Why? Maybe the best thing we can ever do. No, you know, but it's a disgrace. But in years gone by, we always had players who, in a game like that, on you know, it's a close game and there's someone will just put one in for you. You know, a couple of years ago we played Southampton first game of the season. We didn't play particularly well. I think Richie got one, Decore gets one, and we, you know, and we win the game. And it's not a particularly good game, but the lads just take the chances. We got Richie, we got Dom, and we got Decore, and they all score goals, and there's a threat, and we win the game. And as I said, there wasn't loads between the two teams on the
Southampton under Silver. Richie and Walcott score, we win 2-1.
There's loads of games that are like that, which are like where the top opposition comes and they're a bit like you don't want to give them a chance, but you've got enough. You get over the line because you've got lads who can put the ball in the back of the net.
That's why
isn't that like, you know, isn't that hard? Is it? Other, like you said yesterday, other clubs do it.
No, hang on, Man U last night. Wolves were unlucky not to get something out of the game. They should have definitely had a bleeding penalty.
Yeah, unbelievable.
VAR nonsense.
Unbelievable.
But United are miles better than Wolves. Miles better. And will be over the season. But last night they weren't. And what happened? Rafa Varane come up with the goal late on to get them the win. Someone just took a chance and they win the game 1-0. And okay, people can talk about Wolves and go, oh, they're unlucky, they mightn't be as bad as everyone says. Well, it was probably a little bit of both. First game under Gary O'Neill, United didn't play particularly well. Wolves knocked it round all right, full of energy. Well, does that carry on if you can't score goals? Wolves are in a similar position to us. They can't score. They haven't been able to score goals for a few years, Wolves. No. And eventually it catches up with you. Now they're going to need a striker after they got the money. It doesn't look like. So they'll have to be creative. But you put a goal scorer into Wolves' side last night, they might be 2-0 up in that game before United even get going. There's plenty of those games in the season. The reason why a lot of those clubs are so consistent, a lot of them have better players than you because the money they pay them and everything, the money they've got to spend. But it doesn't mean those players play well every week. Look at Chelsea. Chelsea last season finished 12th, was it? They had some great players. Were they motivated every week? No. And so if you'll have a lot of those games in the Premier League, but what normally happens and makes the top clubs get towards the top is when they've got those games where it's flat and it's the other teams may be playing well, they've got someone to come up with a goal which just wins the game, and then it's like, we didn't play great today, but we've won. They always say, signs of a good side, not playing well and winning. But it's because those teams have someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. We don't have it. We just don't have it. Now, when Dwight McNeil's back in the team,
but then it puts pressure on
everyone.
Puts pressure on everyone.
Because Everton made one real mistake at the weekend, which was for their goal, that we weren't as tight as we should have been. And they scored. And it was spawny, the fact that when Patterson went sliding in, it could have gone anywhere, and it spun perfectly to the one player who was on his own. All right, but that happens sometimes. But if you'd had goals in your team, that would have just made it 4-1 or something. If we'd have had a normal... Like, if they'd been Fulham v Everton and the game went the same way, they'd have probably been 3 up by the time we got that spawny goal. And we just don't take our chances. And that's why we do need someone who is a focal point, but also someone who can put the ball in the net. Fed says, afternoon, guys, don't want to get sold off by Baz for going overboard. But we thought Fulham and Wolves were winnable and Villa tricky. Wolves looked all right last night, so that might be harder than we thought. I think... currently, every game will be harder than it probably should be for the reasons we've just been discussing, mate. Do I think Wolves are a good side? No. Did they play all right last night? Yeah. But teams will play all right. I thought Fulham were dreadful at the weekend. Will they be that poor every week? Probably not. But I looked at them on Saturday and thought, these are in relegation trouble. Even after they'd won the game. Because they looked worse than Everton. But they scored a goal and won the game, and that's all that matters, isn't it? Man United were worse than Wolves last night and won the game. So United will get better, Wolves might get better, or they might get worse, or they might just be that team that knocks it round really well and can't score goals. Everton are in the exact same, well, we don't really knock it round that well, but we're in that same bracket that will probably, our results show us worse than we are. And I understand the emotional side where the default is to just say we're awful, we're crap, we're one of the worst teams, because results generally say that. But if you step away, and a few people have brought me down off, the emotional fume that I had on Saturday by going, but just look at the game. That was an anomaly, that kind of game, because Everton were miles better, and it won't happen all the time. Well, that's great, but it did Saturday and it pissed me off. You've got to put goals into your team. Until Everton put goals into the team, they're always likely to be on the wrong end of tight games. because tight games require your players to get goals. But what's worse about Saturday was they were gilt-edged chances. They weren't like half chances or a game where Patterson hits the bar. They were gilt-edged, and I'm talking about Nathan Patterson's chance as well. Goalie's
seen it before, though, haven't we? That's the problem. We've seen it all before.
We're burnt, aren't we?
But we've seen it all before. We've seen it all last season. So this is why, the need for a centre forward is so
pressing. Liam says 100% take Gnonto, but we've needed a striker for the best part of 2 years. I like Dom, but I think he scored once in the last 30. Well, he got 2 last season, didn't he? But he's only played 18 games in each of the last 2 seasons, which is terrible, isn't it? Steve says, Baz, if you had to choose between... Why have you brought this in? You had to choose between drinking an Orange Club smoothie and watching the Newcastle documentary. What would you do? Matter of life and death. And you can't sit there on your phone pretending to watch it either. You have to do it like the scene on a clock. I'd watch the Newcastle doc, rather than drinking an Orange Club smoothie.
That'd be fine.
I like football documentaries.
That'd be crap. Mark Woods on the Super Chat says, if Dyche digs in behind Mopai, is it the end for him? What do you mean, dig in? I'll be honest, I don't think he had any option but to play Mopai on Saturday. I've seen a lot of people saying, should have played Dobbin. Dobbin's not a centre forward. He's a wide forward, and I'll be honest, if we get Gnonto in, then he's gone. He'll go on loan somewhere. I don't think Dobbin's anywhere near the level. Be great if he stayed and he built up and we saw a little bit more of him, but I still think he's not got not anywhere near it. We had obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin was not available. Manager said that on Friday, and Dan Juma clearly wasn't fit. Had only played 145 minutes in pre-season plus the whatever time he got 75 minutes behind closed doors, and that's where he got the injury. So he wasn't fit. So I don't think he had any other. Option to play.
No, he was never going to play. No, he had to stay. He probably did have to start him because of he didn't think Dom was fit enough to be on the bench. Well, Dom wouldn't have started, but
I don't see.
So he had to start him. My issue was the fact he waited too long before he placed him.
That's fine.
And also, he should have put Cannon on for the last 15. He should have done.
That's fine.
The lad's a centre forward who's played in the Championship. We're talking about.
Listen, he'll live and die by these decisions, like every other manager. This is a thing we talk about so often, though. The level between these players and the Premier League. We're talking about Mopai, who's got Premier League experience, who scored goals, who scored double figures in Premier League, not being anywhere near it, and then suddenly we were saying Dobbin and Cannon are ready for the Premier League when there's actually zero evidence to suggest that.
No, I'm talking about Cannon for the last 15 of a game, just as a wild card. Yeah. Dobbin should never have started up front. He's not a striker. Not a striker at all. He's just not. Like you said, a wide forward.
This is a lad who...
He's learning his trade.
This is a lad who blew ridiculously hot and cold at Derby last season. A team that were in League One, and he blew ridiculously hot and cold. He's not. Again, when he came on, he runs around a lot and he's busy, and I get that's great. But has he got the composure? To get on the ball and do something with it? I'm not sure. You got to temper these expectations of these players.
I'll put it this way: he's 20, right? He's 20 years of age. We're talking about 25 million for a lad who's 19, who's an international footballer in Wilfred Gnonto. So you have to look at it all like that. Gnonto's played 11 times for Italy. He's played in, first team since he was 17. Lewis Dobbin's learning his game. I'm saying he's not good and he can't be an Everton player because he's looked sharp in pre-season. And the manager has kept him around the first team squad, hasn't he? And has had him on the bench and brought him on at the weekend. So the manager and the coaching staff have obviously been impressed by him so far. But he's not a centre forward. He's just not. He's a wide forward. So what Lewis Dobbin has to do now is continue his development. And Ped's absolutely right. If Everton get Wilfred Gnonto, Dobbin will go on loan. If Everton decide Gnonto isn't, they can't get him and they go after Suleimani, Lewis Dobbin will go on loan to carry on his development, and he should. He ain't gonna listen. If I was being 100% selfish, I'd keep Dobbin as one of our subs.
Yeah.
Even with Gnonto
if he's going to get games,
right?
otherwise
But what's the point of me keeping him as, if I was the manager, of me keeping him as a sub, and he gets 10 minutes here and there, and it's almost like, don't forget, if Everton got, just let's say Everton got Gnonto, because that's what the main show's been about today, okay? Everton got Wilfred Gnonto. So Everton then have Wilfred Gnonto, Arnott Danjuma, Dwight McNeil, Jack Harrison, and Alex Iwobi, who can all play wide, right? So only 2 of them can play in that wide formation, because we'll have a centre forward. And then if Everton do get, I'm just going to say Patson Daka. So Everton have then Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Patson Daka, and Yusuf Chimiti. There's 8 players who can play in them forward positions for 3 positions from a team that is trying to make sure it's not in a relegation battle. Not a team that's in Europe, where you can go, lads, you should all get in 20-odd games this season. Everton Football Club cannot keep that many people, and then throw Lewis Dobbin into the mix. Everton cannot keep that many people happy. They just can't. It's impossible to do it. It's impossible for Pep to do it, which is why his squad isn't massive. So that's what's difficult. It's also a reason why I'm not convinced Alex Iwobi's still going to be here at the end of the transfer window.
Yeah.
If Everton get another wing, I look and think, something else going on there, I don't know. But I just think numerically we wouldn't be able to. But one thing I wouldn't do is say to Lewis Dobbin, like, you're leading the line as a centre forward, because he's not played there. I know he come on at Chelsea a couple of years ago and he done all right. He ran around for the last half an hour, but he's more like a wide forward, isn't he? Stature as well.
And that's where he played for when he was in the under-21s. You know, that's where he got his goals from.
And that's
where
he played for Derby, didn't he? You know, that's what we'd have to see, wouldn't we? A lot of people saying Gnonto needs to be wrapped up as quickly as possible. Gavin just said Suleimani's going to Monaco because they just bid 21 million.
Nice.
Fair play then. Fair play. Everton this is the problem, isn't it? Is that while we're sitting around, other clubs are making moves. Like, let's race through a couple of these. Benjamin says, what do you make of the lad from Chelsea? Malik, Mothershell. He's on trial. He looks nice and lively. To be fair, he's refused a new contract at Chelsea. Come on loan to Everton. He played the last 20 last night. He got beat 4-0 by Liverpool. But he looks lively. He looks like he can travel with the ball. He's quick and bright. So, yeah, if Everton take him, hopefully they can develop, and if the worst comes to the worst, they can make money on him like we did with Ellis Sims, that kind of thing. Steve says, wanted to get both your thoughts on how do you think Iwobi fits into this team now? We've got actual wingers. People will say about him going into midfield, but the evidence would suggest Dyche isn't going to play him in there over the other 4. And does anyone actually think he starts over Harrison, McNeil or Danjuma? And clearly they want another winger in Gnonto, so that'd be 6 wingers, which makes me think he could end up leaving. That's just what
I mean, that's saying there. I think the smart thing to do would be if we have the cover to let him go if someone wants him. But number 1, does anyone want him? And number 2, could he play somewhere else? Could he play down the middle? Could he play the role Decore plays? He started last season really well playing centre midfield. Is he physical enough to play there for Sean Dyche? That's the thing.
He would be if Garner and Onana were behind him, or Garner and Garner were behind him, or Garner and Decore were maybe behind him, because he is then very much an attacking midfield player, isn't he? But with 10 months left on a deal, no evidence he's going to sign a new one.
Yeah, as a football club, they should be looking to get rid of him.
Jamie says, afternoon lads, just on the Onana links to United. I know midfielders are going for daft money at the minute, but honestly we couldn't say no to 60 million. I don't think. The lad flatters to deceive week after week. He's got talent, of course, but imagine what we could do with the money. Striker and a new centre mid. Lovely message to start. Rest in peace, Michael. I think if Everton got an offer of 60 million, they'd sell him.
It's replacing him now, isn't it?
It is, but I
Or
think...
would you just put Garner in
I
there?
think James Garner will go in there.
Physical side.
It's not the same, of course. At the core, maybe, alongside Garner. And it's not where he should play, of course. But then he could have 2-8s with the Tisha, couldn't he? And then James Garner.
Wouldn't have to worry. We'd have Big Ron playing up front for us.
Well, then we could get Ron. So there you go. I think Everton will consider if 60 million coming. I don't think Manchester United will bid 60 million for him. And then it's about, do they do McTominay, whatever, and then people would be fuming for McTominay, so I don't know. Everton Viking thinks we need to get Gnonto wrapped up as soon as possible because other clubs will come in for him. And says, as for Gnonto, you don't know what he's been promised. He's respectfully asked to leave a few times. They're refusing him. He can only do what he does. Yeah, absolutely, mate. And our club has probably encouraged him to do what he's done. Well, that does happen. They go, listen, if you really want to force
especially if they've already agreed terms.
So
It does happen now, before anything.
Of course it does. Lawson just says rumours Antonio's available for just under 10 mil for a 2-year deal.
Oh, you'd like that one, yeah.
Another one that doesn't score goals. 33 years of age. 80, 90 grand a week. Not for me. Derek says Gnonto be a great sign and we don't have anyone who beats a player. He likes to take on his man with pace and power. Absolutely. Gay says need to get the Gnonto deal done. The player's done all he can from his end to force the deal, so we owe it to him now to agree a deal with Leeds. It'd be very disappointing to spend so long chasing him and to miss out for the sake of a few million. Yeah. Adam says, sorry, I've just covered any circle of trust on Gnonto. How confident are you that we'll get him? My confidence is shaken by Spurs bouncing into play with their 100 million. They don't. Where would he get in at Tottenham? Right now, they've got
They're not
players.
replacing Harry Kane with Gnonto, are they? No. The fans are burning the place down.
They're already after other strikers and stuff. I'm not saying they're not interested because he's a good young player. He may well be, but if he's clever enough, he'd swerve that for now because it's about him playing regularly and developing. But who knows? But a week ago, we said Everton Leeds were very close. That was the thing was they were 1.5 million apart or something. Do I now think that's the case? I don't know because Leeds hadn't come out at that stage and said he wasn't for sale. So I don't know whether they want that nudged up a bit or whether they're trying to cover their own arse by saying we've done everything we can. I honestly don't know. Derek says any truth in the 777 rumours. I don't. As far as I've been told this morning, it's all still ongoing with MSP. So I don't know. Simon says, morning from a baking Florida. Spot on about a striker by a half decent one and we finished mid-table at worst. Mark says, did you watch Wolves yesterday? All the chances, couldn't finish, should have won 4-1. It's an unforgiving league. Well, it is an unforgiving league, isn't it? We proved that on Saturday. And Brandon says, could have played Michael Keane instead of Mopai. Clearly, though, he was fit enough and had one shot, put it in the back of the net. He did, didn't he? He had one chance, Michael Keane, really, and slotted it. Get him up front. Let's do it. Right, that's us. Stay where you are. Get yourselves a drink. Leave your computer on.
You stay where you're
Yeah, I did. As I said it, I realised it. Leave everything on, your phone or your computer. Get yourself a drink or your smart TV. And we're going to be going over to the More Than a Game channel for our transfer show. Make sure you get involved with that, where we're doing everything else. It's all good. Let's do it. Go ahead. Let's do it. Be good. Get the like button on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't. And do the same on the other channel. Thank you very much for everyone who has joined us today. See you in a bit.